Everyone thinks that a moose is just a huge deer. Well, the maximum is danger on the highway, and it's normal that it seems that way. But now I will explain the real function of the moose, briefly and to the point, because if you remove the moose, the balance in nature breaks down where you wouldn't expect it at all. In a few minutes, I'll show you 10 functions and one effect that almost everyone misses. Watch to the end. The chain is important here. Otherwise, the picture will be incorrect. The moose is the largest representative of the reindeer. He lives in forests, forest tundra, near swamps and lakes. And he's not just a herbivorous giant. The moose is forest controller, an engineer of the undergrowth, a carrier of nutrients, and key prey for large predators where they are. Go. 3. 10 functions of moose in nature with detailed analysis. 1. Regulator of shrubs and young trees. Moose actively eats willows, aspens, birch, mountain ash, young shoots of pine and spruce, especially in winter when there is little grass. What does this give to nature? The moose mows the forest from below, prevents the undergrowth from becoming too dense, and it changes which breeds get an advantage. 2. Forms a mosaic forest. The moose does not feed smoothly. He chooses the plots, returns to the tasty zones, and as a result, the forest becomes a mosaic. Somewhere the undergrowth is lower, somewhere higher, somewhere more deciduous, somewhere more coniferous. Mosaic equals more views. Insects, birds, small animals. Everyone benefits from diversity. 3. Keeps the early stages of the forest in good shape after fires, logging, and windbreaks. Many young trees appear: willow, aspen, and birch. The moose comes there as a test of strength. He does not allow the youngsters to capture everything at once. The system is recovering more steadily. 4. A strong player in aquatic ecosystems, moose often feed on aquatic plants. They pull them from the bottom and eat coastal vegetation. This affects lakes and swamps, the structure of thickets, the access of light and oxygen in the coastal zone, and shelters for fish and invertebrates. The moose connects land and water literally with its mouth. 5. Transfer of nutrients across the landscape. The moose eats in one place and returns the power supply in another one. Droppings are not dirt. It is a fertilizer and food for soil life. This way, nutrients enter the cycle faster. 6. Food base for predators and scavengers. Where there are wolves and bears, moose is one of the key prey. And even if the moose is not killed by a predator, its carcass feeds foxes, ravens, eagles, dead-eating beetles, bacteria. This is a big energy battery for the forest. 7. Influence on predators through prey quality. Moose is big and strong, but not always equally accessible. Predators are more likely to take the young, the weakened, the sick, the old. This is natural selection in action for both moose and predators. 8. Creates trails and corridors in the forest. Moose walk along the usual routes, especially to the water and feeding areas. These trails are used by other animals. They become the highways of the forest, where it's easier to move around and where traces of life are more common. 9. Regulates competition among plants. Moose chooses some species more often. Others are rarer. This changes the competition. Which plants dominate, which ones retreat, which ones get a chance. A moose is not just a consumer, it's an ecosystem selector. 10. An indicator of the state of forest and swamp systems moose needs. Shelters, food, water, and a not too sterile landscape. If moose disappear locally, this is often a signal. The environment has become poorer, too restless, or the food balance is disturbed. One unexpected effect that is often overlooked: a moose is an engineer of light. When it eats out the undergrowth and young trees, the illumination changes at the bottom of the forest. And the light below is the fate of grasses, shrubs, berry bushes, and young trees. That is, the moose controls not only who eats what, He controls where the light will be, which means where life will be. 10 unusual facts about moose with detailed analysis. 1. Moose is an excellent swimmer. He calmly swims across rivers and lakes, and he often goes into the water not for fun, but for food and to escape from insects. 2. He dives for aquatic plants. Moose can put its head underwater and get plants from the bottom. For a forest giant, it looks like a diving deer. 3. Not everyone has horns. The horns are in males, and they are reset every year. This is a normal part of the cycle. 4. Horns are not always a weapon. In real life, the moose's main weapons are mass, legs, and distance. Horns are important during the rutting season and conflicts, but most days the moose is not looking for a fight. 5. The moose is not fat, it is tall on its feet. His body shape is an adaptation to snow and swamps. High legs equals easier to walk through snowdrifts and mud. 6. Moose often choose places with wind, because in the summer they get blood-sucking insects. The wind is a natural protection, and the water too. 7. Moose can be dangerous even if it just stands there. Danger usually occurs if you get close, if there is a cub nearby, or if the animal is trapped and stressed. This is not aggression for the sake of aggression. This is defense. 8. The female protects the calf very harshly. A calf is a top priority for a moose, and this explains most of the dangerous situations in nature. 9. Moose is a specialist in uncomfortable food. He eats a lot of twig food, bark, and coarse vegetation. The fact that other herbivores are not so profitable. This reduces competition and expands the niche. 10. Moose affects the forest more than it seems. He doesn't cut down trees. He doesn't build dams. But he is changing the forest quietly through the undergrowth, light, mosaic, and nutrition of the soil. And it is precisely these quiet mechanisms that are often the most important. Conclusion. A moose is not a big deer. It is the regulatory node of the ecosystem. It forms the undergrowth, rebuilds the mosaic of the forest, binds water and land, feeds predators, and accelerates the circulation of substances. Remove the moose and the forest will begin to change, quietly, but systematically. If it was useful, subscribe. Here we analyze animals like this to make it clear who really keeps nature in working order. And write in the comments, what surprised you the most? The moose diver, the engineer of light, or how he puts the forest into a mosaic?